Welcome to the MordorBBS Podcast. You can visit MordorBBS.com for pop culture news, views and information. Be the first on your block to simply walk into Mordor. Your hosts for this podcast are Signal and Gameplay Jenny.
I'm Ergo the Magnificent, short in stature, tall in power, narrow of purpose, and wide of vision. And I do not travel with peasants and beggars. Goodbye.
Zombies in computer games. I can't help but notice that they seem to be a cop-out for just about every bad guy in computer games at the moment. Every new computer game you download, be it a fantasy or a shooter, you're going to have a zombie as a bad guy in there somewhere. As someone who is deathly scared of the bloody things, I think this is a cop-out, and I hate them.
That's not a reason for not having them in games, Rob, in fairness.
I think it's a perfectly valid reason for not having them in games.
I will admit that me not liking spiders, I personally think is a perfectly good reason for them never being in a game again. But nevertheless, zombies, that's quite a big area getting rid of there.
I think it's perfectly fair to be deathly scared of zombies, as opposed to spiders. Spiders are normal, everyday creatures, and for the most part are pretty harmless. I'd hate to say wouldn't harm a fly, because that's exactly the wrong thing to say. Zombies, on the other hand, are a perfectly reasonable thing to be scared of.
Zombies, Rob, do not exist.
Yes, well, you've obviously never walked down the main street at 3 a.m.
No, definitely they don't exist. Whether it's spiders, you find them on the ceiling.
Yes, but spiders actually make quite good computer game bad guys. And there's lots of things a spider can do. Weird
they can
environments.
do whatever a spider can.
I'm so going to edit that out. But anyway. But zombies seem to be the flavour of the month at the moment. They are everywhere. There's even a new mini-series, Walking Dead, which has come out, which I originally thought could be quite cool until I watched the first episode and realised that it was full of zombies, which I should have guessed from the title. You will be laughing on the other side of your face when the zombie apocalypse hits. I'm going to be prepared up here in my rooftop bunker. You're going to be eaten. That's all there is to it. What have you been up to on your channel? I understand you've been recording some Grand Theft Auto?
I have, yeah. It's that time of the year where I look at all my computer games and I think, I think I'll play Grand Theft Auto again. it just happens all the time.
But it's not one of the modern Grand Theft Auto Las Vegas-y ones, though, is it?
No, it isn't. It's the original one with the quite bad graphics, but it amuses me no end.
So I've always been terrible at those games. I have a tendency to not being able to steer. I always feel guilty when I run people over, and I always have this urge to pull over when the police chase me, which unfortunately is not the aim of the game. I think if the entire focus of the game was to actually obey the law, not annoy the police, and avoid running people over, I'd probably be an awful lot better at it.
Well, to be honest with you, if it wasn't about any of those things, I'd probably be really bad at it, because I can't drive with arrow keys to save my life.
Yeah, that was a difficult part of it, wasn't it? Mind you, even the later ones were along those lines, weren't they? You still had to use the arrow keys to drive, it wasn't mouse-driven from memory?
I don't actually know. I must admit I don't know, because I don't have any of the other ones. The only other GTA thing I have is the London expansion, which, rather entertainingly, if you thieve loads of cars, the city just disappears. There's nobody around, and you sort of think, well, this is realistic, because if you really were running the reign of terror that you can run in that game in reality, everybody would move away.
Certainly, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, I did play that rather extensively when it first came out. I used to quite enjoy doing all the jumps and things, but when it came to completing the missions, I was absolutely appalling. I just couldn't do them to save my life.
Yeah. And me, in fact, to be honest with you, I got distracted from the missions within about 5 minutes of installing it, because I managed to buy it. It was a couple of years after it came out, about 99p or something, and I got it home. And I remember my grandma was staying with us at the time, and I installed it, and I couldn't believe, I could just steal cars and run people over. Not that I would want to do that in real life, it was just the fact that a game would allow you to do anything like that. And I remember setting up this massive incident on a bridge, and accidentally running somebody over or injuring them in some way. And the ambulance turned up, and I thought, I wonder whether you can steal the ambulance, which I promptly did. And I remember leaping up and going over to my dad and going, Dad, you're not going to believe this. And him going, shh, don't let your grandmother hear this.
Yeah, it's been blamed for an awful lot, has Grand Theft Auto. I think every time there's an accident on a freeway somewhere and some spotty teenage kid goes, "Oh, computer games made me do it," it seems to get posted to the media that Rockstar Games are single-handedly bringing down society.
Well, if that was the case, they'd also be single-handedly making everybody want to play table tennis. So, and that's the thing about this 2D versus 3D thing, isn't it? That game I could never take seriously because of the graphics, and they were a bit rubbish. They're quite good for the time, but ultimately you were just a little collection of pixels walking around shooting pixels at things. Whereas when it starts to get really realistic and you start to be able to see what you're doing and all that kind of thing, that's when the line starts to get a bit blurred, I think.
I think most kids, certainly most kids who should be playing those games based on the ESRB or PEGI age guidelines, are at a stage where they're going to know right from wrong. If they steal a car in a computer game, they're not going to automatically think that they should be going out and stealing cars in real life. I don't think we can pin this stuff solely on Rockstar as being the root of all evil in the modern world.
Meanwhile, we've got some exciting news. The MordorBBS podcast is now available on iTunes. Just search for MordorBBS and download us from there.
Jenny, you've been playing an awful lot of online poker of late, haven't you?
I do play online poker, yeah. It's not something I care to admit in public. You do get some strange looks.
But you would consider yourself to be quite good at card games and so forth.
Yeah, I'm not a beginner. I've won a bit of money. I wouldn't say that I'm a terrific player, and if you took me on at poker, I'm sure that you would probably take away my entire bank account, but there are people worse than me.
Excellent. Well, in that case, I have a card trick.
You have a card trick?
I have a card trick. So, what I'm going to ask our regular listener to do is pause this podcast and go and get yourself a pack of cards. Right, now you're back with your pack of cards. Shuffle them and cut them anywhere at random. Flip a card over and think about it very hard. Think into your mouse. It's a 6 of clubs, isn't it? Okay. Of the 1,000 people who downloaded this podcast, 1 out of 52 of them think I'm an effing genius.
The problem being, of course, that we have to get to that many subscribers first.
You're going to make me edit that out, aren't you?
I can't even think of anything to say now. I've been so thrown. Okay, Rob, let's talk about Twitter, shall we?
Yes, our ongoing little skirmish is to see who's got the most Twitter followers and who's gaining and losing the most.
Have you lost 4 this week, Rob?
No, having lost 4 for the last 2 weeks running, I can actually happily announce that I've got 2 new Twitter followers.
Good heavens, well, I've got several more than that.
Several more than that? Have you been
Several more than that.
Have you been cheating again?
No, I actually haven't. Some of these are genuine, and I'd like to say thank you to the people and subscribers on YouTube who are actually following me on Twitter now. Good luck with that. However, Twitter's a wonderful thing. I'm being followed by a locksmith in Wrexham, which is great, except that I don't live in Wrexham, and I've never needed a locksmith.
Yes, in fact, one of my new Twitter followers has come from you, a Mr. Bill Wolf, who seems to have glommed onto me after reading my name in your Twitter feed somewhere. I'm certainly not complaining. I'm going to be looking at propaganda in order to get him to unfollow you and follow me exclusively, which should put me well in the lead. How many followers have you got now in total?
Right, there we go. Followers, 71.
You have 71 followers.
I do.
71 whole followers.
And one of them is a locksmith in Wrexham.
Yes, I have 354. Not that we like to brag about such things. Well, possibly. I mean, Mr. Bill Wolf, for all I know, might be a locksmith in Wrexham. Probably not, however, because I think 2 locksmiths in Wrexham would be something of a coincidence.
It would be overkill, really, wouldn't it?
Yes. The last couple of days I've been researching space tourism on the internet. not for any sense of wanting to go into orbit for my next holiday so much as just thinking it's a really neat industry. And I came across a rather cool free Steam game called Moonbase Alpha. Now this has actually been written by NASA, and it's available either from free download from Steam or from the NASA website. It's a first-person game where you can maintain a base on the surface of the moon, and it uses realistic physics and shows the whole process of lunar habitability in a fairly realistic and feasible manner. It's a sim light, so don't expect to be bogged down in trying to figure out what to do. The interface is nice and straightforward. The computer basically tells you what you have to do next. But the goal is really cool. It's to basically maintain a colony on the moon. It's all very interesting, and the science nut in me loves this to bits. It's not going to appeal to someone who's expecting it to be a shooter. There are no aliens, no zombies, no bad guys. It's all just about completing your missions, plugging bits of kit into other bits of kit, connecting up power, making sure the life support's working properly. The difficulty is in the design of the game, really. It's designed to be played cooperatively. There's not a lot of time to complete the requirements of each scenario. And let's face it, when you've got an oxygen leak, you can't really wait around, so you do need to have a few people working alongside you to figure out the problems and weld things together. Unfortunately, when attempting to get into the multiplayer games, I found that most people just want to drive the buggy around on the moon surface really quickly and crack bad jokes about Tiger Woods while I'm trying to nail 2 bits of HAB module motherboard together. Playing as a singleton it's fine, but it really does take away a lot of the challenge. In short, it's a fun little game, it's free, it's a smallish download. I heartily recommend it if you just want to have a blast. So Jenny, you've got a new website. It's gameplayjenny.com, isn't it?
It is indeed.
So how are you finding that? Because I understand you've been banging your head against your desk trying to get things working properly.
Well, Rob, I do have a head full of widgets. It has to be said, I have no idea what I'm doing at all. There is a fatal error on part of my site, and I can't work out what it is, how to get rid of it, and how to unfatal it. My Twitter feed isn't working. I can't change the fonts. I don't particularly like the background, and I've only managed to upload 4 videos. Other than that, it's going really well.
Excellent. Okay, well, perhaps we shouldn't have been...
GameplayJenny.com.
GameplayJenny.com. Perhaps we shouldn't have been advertising the hell out of it before you're ready to go then.
Give me a couple of weeks. So, Rob, I understand that you've discovered something on YouTube involving Dracula.
Yes, Christopher Lee, who played Dracula on the old Hammer horror movies back in the 60s and 70s, has been doing a little bit with music of late. Not only has he produced his own album, do a search for Charlemagne on YouTube, but he's also done a bit of work with a group called Rhapsody, and it's a song called Wizard's Dream. The whole thing is really quite cheesy and odd, but if you do listen to it, I think you'll find that his voice actually does make up for an awful lot when compared to the other long hairs who are actually playing the rest of the music. It's definitely worth listening to, it's definitely worth having a watch of the video. Anybody who's a fan of Christopher Lee, I think, will enjoy it.
Well, that's it from us. Where are you off to, Rob?
I'm going to nail 2 bits of wood together out in the backyard.
I'm off to play with some widgets. I'll see you all later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the MordorBBS Podcast. Don't forget that you can visit us online at MordorBBS.com.